Hello and welcome to MudderRucker, the women's rugby podcast. This is season 3, episode 20 now, the big 2-0. I'm Ailbhe O'Nolan.
And I'm Keelan Woodor.
And this is Chloe Pearse, back in not so sunny Ireland and fresh off not only winning another AIL semi-final, but getting player of the match onto the final in the Aviva, Chloe.
Yeah, and like episode 20, same as my age, obviously.
Oh, of course, yeah. and just as sprightly as it as well.
Yeah, maybe plus a bit of VAT, but in general, like now, if it's probably more like the VAT the government are taking for the fuel, but look, we'll take it.
That's heavy duty VAT.
Yeah, heavy duty.
I blame the carbon tax.
Yeah, it must be me. It's definitely me age. Carbon tax makes sense.
Carbon date you. So in this episode, we look back at the first round of the Six Nations now that it's done and dusted, recapping each game, and we look ahead to next week's clash with Italy in Galway. So first, to look at France versus Italy. France ran away with the win, but my feeling is the score doesn't really reflect the nuance of the game. Chloe, was it a bit of a mediocre French side, made to look better than they really are by a substandard Italian side, or do you think it was the France of old?
I think it was the latter. I think Italy were like a bit undercooked. You know, a couple of things, like even I think what sums it up was the maul try. It was like the first time they've ever had to defend a maul. Just looking at that try at the end, near the end, I suppose. And then even like for the Brosso try, you know, big line break. And then she hits a great line and the two Italian defenders like look at each other as she's going through as if, is that your tackle or is it mine? And I'm just like, it doesn't matter, clatter her, both of you clatter her and clatter each other as well. But it was just a little bit of that. But I suppose France's new caps, you know, we spoke about that. They look quite good. Definitely had pace. And then a couple of old heads showing up as well. Like, you know, Bordon Sansus being Dupont all over the place as per usual. Grise looked good. And then a couple of their forwards as well, standing up the usual suspects, Fowl and Calafui. But yeah, I thought Italy were definitely a little bit undercooked and didn't really put their best foot forward, so definitely a lack of cohesion in that camp from what I could see, and probably made France look good, but I suppose France, you know, did well to score 40 as well, and yeah, maybe might put it up to England or ourselves. We'll see. Maybe we were saying we won France in the first game. I don't know, did we actually?
France seemed a little bit, I suppose, messy in those opening exchanges. Italy had quite a lot of possession, but France pulled it together. They got really organised in the second half. And it felt for me like there was a big moment on 28 minutes where there was this absolutely enormous 50-22 from Vernier. I think it was just outside her own 22. So, you know, that's a huge boot. Did that seem like a bit of a turning point in the game, Chloe?
Yeah, and I suppose that's what you expect from your kind of senior experienced players. You know, we've spoken a lot about a lot of new caps and a lot of young heads coming into this squad, but you kind of expect that from a player like Vernier, like she'll carry that squad. You know, she's probably the most experienced player that they have. So that's something that it's a momentum swinger, isn't it? Like, you know, you're just outside your 22, you're gone from defending, you're now just looking at what's next, and to get the ball back inside the opposition's 22, it is a huge moment, and it gives you back that momentum. And, you know, it's quite deflating as a team who, you know, has the team on the back foot in their 22, and next minute, you know, you're strolling back to defend a line out. That's a killer, like, and it can really take kind of the wind out of your sails. So, yeah, definitely a big moment for them, and big moments from big players. You know, that's what you expect from her.
You can almost hear the curses of the tight five just going off for Faf.
Yeah, it's like when there's the tennis, like tennis going over and back, and you're fucking lose, you know, in between.
Yeah.
Pretending to run one way and knowing it's going to be kicked back, and just I've got to say the lazy option.
I am running, I swear.
yeah, and hoping it goes back over your head.
Cian, you made some comments while we were watching the match about the French breakdown, and that stood out to you on Saturday. What specifically caught your eye in that?
Yeah, it was really kind of how vulnerable the French breakdown looked in the first half specifically. They conceded 14 turnovers on the day against a team they were kind of expected to put to the sword fairly handily. But Italy won 9 of those turnovers. It was spread right across the squad as well. It wasn't like it was down to one specialist back row. So it was Manini and Dinka got two each. Madia, Fadrigi, Scorbini, and Minuzzi, sorry, all chipped in with one each as well. So they were getting over the ball consistently enough that France couldn't build any rhythm, and that absolutely kept them scoreless at home for 20 minutes against a team they were expected to kind of run over. And kind of what makes it more pointed was Philo was moved to the back row specifically to be a breakdown threat. She got zero turnovers on the day. So it was Vernier got the most, I think, was two. So the player that was supposed to be there as the turnover threat just wasn't doing that. And that showed in the first half. It was the Italian back row actually was probably the best performing unit for Italy on the day. Giordana, Scorbini, and Ranucci. Serious experience, and they just made a mess of that first half. It was a good game plan, and it worked in that sense. And then, just what say, France just was ruthless with the clean ball. When they did get it, Italy just could not live with it. It was 13 line breaks to Italy's one, 614 meters to Italy's 227. Arbez beating 8 defenders all by herself. France won ugly in the first half, and then absolutely put them to the sword in the second. Ruck was messy, but you need more than that to beat France. And the question is whether England or Ireland can do what Italy couldn't, and that's make them pay if you do manage to nick the ball off them.
It did seem, Chloe, kind of, that first messy exchanges, they were really trying to just play kind of tidy, scripted rugby, and then second half they seemed to just, I don't know, they just got a bit of wind in their sails and they played with a little bit more flair and they played a little bit looser, and they seemed to thrive off that. And Italy showed a few dog legs and a few, a bit of hesitancy, I suppose, in defence that just gave France those options. What for you was the big switch in the French game that opened that game up?
Playing like France. And it's a bit contradictory saying in the first 20 minutes they were turned over so many times when they actually played structured rugby, because that's kind of what you see of teams who aren't in structure and, they don't have enough people in the breakdown because they play so loosely. And yet when you flip it for France, when they went to that loose play and went to that unstructured freestyle rugby of, maybe one person in the ruck and Bordan Sansou's popping to one people or, one person, Jesus, coming through, and that's actually when they played better and got turned over less. But I think there was a little bit of kind of tiring Italian bodies from that kind of initial defensive effort that carried them for that 0-0 for a little bit. But I just think that's actually where France thrive. And it's probably their Achilles heel then, because, you play that high risk, high reward game. And then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But that structured system, for the first 20 minutes, it clearly didn't work. And maybe at halftime they just said, let's change the game plan. Let's go to what we're good at, play on top, play fast, play unstructured. Let's run them back and let's keep pushing that gain line back by playing as fast as we can and as unpredictable as we can. And then that obviously has worked, and, they found holes everywhere. Like we're saying, Arbe beat 10 defenders. She's the 10. Like, how are you beating 10 defenders as the out half? Like, that shouldn't. But again, it was just that unstructured play. Sansous gives her the ball. She steps inside, outside, and then she could have crawled through to score her try. But, that for me is probably more of a telling of the Italian defence being really poor for the 10 to beat 10 defenders than, France being excellent. You expect your 13 or your fullback to be 10 defenders, not someone out half who should be, definitely be defendable like there.
I get the impression with Bordan Sansou that, if she's told by a coach to play structured rugby, she's like, Christ.
Yeah.
It's not her thing. She thrives with just do what you want, when you want, and have fun with it.
Yeah, and I got confused
Exactly.
Yeah. And then Chambon came on, and then I was like, oh, she's still on. And I'm like, where is she playing? Because Chambon was there, and then the 10 was there, and then she was on the wing, but she wasn't on the wing. And I was like, I'm actually here for it. I'm like, let her do what she wants. It's great to watch.
And some of those debutants, was it 6 debutants they had on the day?
A couple of try scores as well.
Couple of tries, couple of big powerful props that came on that very hard to deal with. Well, I mean, if Italy had tackled a little bit lower, they would have fallen pretty hard, but they were just trying to front up physically and they couldn't match them.
Yeah, but there was one like Calafiwi took a ball at one stage and ran around everyone, and I was all for it. The tight head prop taking the outside centre on the outside, and that's where the Brasso try came from. Like, so while some of the props were going through people, she was going around people, and I was like, "This is
Yeah.
brilliant. I love
It's
it."
it, it's frightening when she has both options. I can run over you, I can run around you, and you don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I don't think
How
she
do
knew
you
what she
defend
was going
against
to
that?
do. I think her momentum took her. She was going so fast. She was like, "This is top speed now. I must keep going."
I'm not putting in all the work to get up to this speed again.
Yes, yeah, this would be the only time I hit these meters, high speed meters on my GPS. I must keep going and keep running around you.
I love it. Chloe, last week you were speaking about, Ireland's chances against France, and you were really, really confident. How are you feeling after that first round?
I still stand over it. I still think like that we have that little bit of emotional drive from the World Cup that, obviously isn't something you should heavily rely on, but I think it's something that will stand to us. And then along with, we've been here with France for a few years now. We've lost a couple of close games. I know we're going to France away, but like we take a scoreline of 33-12 versus England. I don't see why we cannot beat France if we take that last quarter possibly and bring that to an 80-minute performance. I still stand over that. I think we can take France, but again, it has to be an 80-minute performance and a very good performance for everyone, and reducing that error count to put us in a position to do that. I still stand over that, yeah.
So amid the Wales Scotland game, before we come to ours, Wales Scotland is always a really good matchup. They're fairly well matched teams for the most part. Always, a decent watch for a neutral, but Jesus Christ, the end of that game, Cian.
Oh, you're not kidding. It's like, did I think Wales would get over? I mean, like I predicted they wouldn't like last week, and I changed my mind about 3 or 4 times during that last 10 minutes. It was amazing. Like trailing 12-22 after was it Lucia Scott's try in the 66th minute? And Bryony King in the sin bin. And then Kate Williams, best actor on the pitch with 16 on the day. She went over in the 72nd minute. George converted. And they're in distance. And this is what you pray for as a rugby fan. It's like, make it a one-score game, especially for us in neutral. Like, make it a one-score game in the last couple of minutes of the game. And both sides went at it. Absolute hammer and tongs. It was amazing. That Nelson penalty miss on 80, right on
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
just,
All she needed to do was hit it dead.
that's it. It didn't even have to score. It's like, you just wallop it. If it goes dead, you've still won.
Yeah,
But
hard as you can.
oh, but that multi-phase counter in their 22, stuck in their 22, multi-phase, just going phase after phase after phase, not everything going perfectly, balls going to ground, everything helter skelter, and then the yellow card for the high shot, more
Yeah,
drama.
yeah.
After you think they've been turned over after an amazing break, to be in that position, then they'll have the line out to be a player up, and you're like, we can do this. We can do this. We just have to execute this and get up into their 22. We can do this. And then it's an accidental knock on in a tackle. And that's it. It's gone. It's in
It's
the red. So any kind of attack, any kind of a knock on, that's it. It's game over.
Yeah, yeah. Best
Unreal.
part for me was, oh, they've kicked it out. Game over. No, no, wait. What's the ref doing? Oh, it's not over. We've got more.
What's
It
that? It's
was
the TMO's music.
it was just pure drama. Chloe, it struck me as I suppose Scotland seem, and I've said this before, I know I said this last year, they don't seem to really meet the sum of their parts. They're never quite as good as they should be. And I think Wales were a little bit the opposite. They played with heart. You can see the Sean Lynn effect coming in after a year in charge. Who stood out to you on the day?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the Welsh side, like their forwards probably carried them, and even when I saw the team announced, I was saying, "Oh, the back line, and then you look at the Scotland back line, and you've Raleigh and Emma Orr and Helen Nelson, and you're like, geez." And I kind of looked at it after, and I said, "Geez, Scotland actually might run away with this, just with that superstar effect." But as we said, like you just have players playing with heart, and the forward, you've Kelsey Jones, and then you have like that Kate Williams try. She'd no right to score that try.
No,
but it
no.
was pure heart and want, and she just kind of personified what they did for the whole game. But again, she has that connection with Sean Lynn, from Gloucester, and she obviously brought in, and a lot of the players do that actually, and then Tui Pilato as well, and Bethan Lewis, like they know what he's about and they know what it takes to win those games. I think they're just missing a couple of really good backs to really tie it together. And then you just wonder when you get to the end of that game, why did it take to running it from behind your goal line for them to play? We're 84 minutes now. Now we should play some rugby. Now we should crossfield kick to the winger and run it out. And you're like, why didn't you do that the whole game?
Yeah.
But she stands out. Emma Orr in the middle for me always stands out. She makes
Always.
line breaks and then, has a great pass to Lloyd, who unselfishly gives it in the inside to Raleigh. And I think that kind of sums up what Scotland are like. But I think both of them will come away. Like, obviously, Scotland will be happy with the win, but I think disappointed that they let Wales back into it and, put themselves in a position that they actually could have lost the game. They'll definitely have to tighten up on that if they want to, push us, push France, push England. But I think Wales will definitely take a bit of heart from it. But I still think their backline needs a bit of work. I think they'll, probably suffer against the other or the other teams. Like, I think our backline will punish them a little bit more than Scotland did. I think we'll be a bit more clinical. But definitely a lot of heart to take from them, and those players like Kate Williams and like Kelsey Jones, like they will still always put in that kind of performance and carry that team.
Another thing that struck me was, and Fiona Hayes pointed it out actually at the commentary in the game, was Scotland booted it down. I think it was Clecky George was looking to see if it's going to go dead or if it's going to stop in goal. It stops in goal, and she just looks pretty casual about it. And it's like, the clock's kind of ticking. And then, a few phases later, all of a sudden, crossfield kick and this huge flare of creativity and passion comes out. I thought initially that was just a sign of them giving up, and then they weren't. They were just going at it.
Yeah, that's like, it's just like, why does it take that? Like, how do you get that from minute one? That's what he needs to unlock for them. Like, now I think that's the way Clicky George is anyway. Like, I see her play with Gloucester, like, and I think, thank God, you're like, I'll be honest, like, she's not my favourite player. I don't rate her too much. But I just think, how lucky are you to be surrounded by superstars in Gloucester that allows you to do that? I think like that, like, her kicking can be good. I don't think she offers much in attack. I think she just has a lot of really strong players around her with Gloucester. And I think that's where Wales suffer. I'd love to see them like with and I know if you don't have the players, you don't have the players, like, but I'd love to see them with like a Zoe Harrison style 10 and see if she can get them firing on all fronts. But look, I suppose she nearly got him back in the game, like, to do the crossfield kick. I suppose she's not to lose at that point. Yes, the bonus point, but, it worked out. And at that stage, I think Sean Lim would have said, fair play to you for throwing caution to the wind if it had gone wrong,
Yeah, it took some guts to do that, but yeah, fair play to her. Right, so we'll move on to the big game of the weekend, England versus Ireland, 77,120 people, which was just astonishing. I'm not going to lie, anthems, I shocked myself and bawled my eyes out. It was just incredible to see. In the game, Ireland, in the very early exchanges, we had some opportunities. There was a break from Flood at one point where I think she really should have given the pass, didn't give the pass. Followed up very soon after by another break from Hogan. But we were kept scoreless in the first half, Chloe, while England scored 3 converted tries. What did you make of that first half performance?
Yeah, like, again, it's not for a lack of endeavour and a lack of effort, because like we gave that in spades in defence. It's just that clinicalness, the unforced errors killed us, like, and some of the decision making killed us. But yeah, like the knock on at the 22 when we finally get in there, we kick the ball dead. Like, it's just these, and I know Scott said in his interview, and look, there'll always be unforced errors, right? Everyone's human. We're playing rugby. You're under pressure. It happens. But everyone can't be making unforced errors. Like Eve Higgins dropping the kickoff. Eve Higgins coming around the corner and indecisive and the ball slips out of her hand. Now, that's very unlike her, but it was just error after error. Some silly decisions at ruck time to give penalties. And then, like, especially like in that 22, like, and Kleena won a lot of penalties and I thought she had a great game. There was she gave a penalty for being off her feet at the ruck, kicked the line out, maul try. Like, it's that's the difference of poor decision making and not being, executing enough at what your role is England will score, But yeah, I think the big killer was the knock on at the 22. But in saying that, like, the penalty was completely incorrect, like, gave the penalty to England. Byrne went straight down in the scrum. And then they win another penalty. They take it quick. They knock it on. And she says, we weren't back 10. I'm sorry now. We were no impact to the ball. Like, what is this? Under 12s? Go.
That's it. They're backing off the ball. Like, Ireland aren't the problem there. That just reminds me like that of underage rugby where you're like, have a do-over. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
The greatest team in the world do not be given that. Exactly. Like, it's just, I think I nearly threw a shoe at the telly
I
at the
was
time.
livid. Like, and as we said, right, look, these decisions will go your way and they won't go your way. But it was like, come on, like, we're in the home of English rugby, the world champions. Do you think they need this handout? Like,
exactly.
And it was scandalous. Like, but I just felt Erin should have been straight up to her. Like, I just felt that's where she lacked a little bit of inexperience. Like, she should have been straight up on top for like we were nowhere near the ball. Like, whether she changed her mind or not, but like, it was, but that was a killer again, like, because, kick to the corner and then off that they end up scoring again. Like, but it was just disappointing as a player, and I'm sure, or as a spectator, I'm sure it was disappointing as a player. Again, wasn't the be all and end all, right? That wasn't the issue why we were 21-0 down. But again, you just, you need a break and we didn't get it. But yeah, like, then again, just a couple of unforced errors, ball kicked, Vicky Kinnan knocks it on. And to be honest, she probably made up for it. Like, Kildun is straight through in some really suspect defence, like, to be honest. But she knocks the ball, like, the pressures her so much that Kildun knocks it on, like, so, you have to take a bit of that. And in fairness to Kinnan, like, Jess Breach was through at one stage, went around Stacey Flood, I think it was around the 17-minute mark, 20 minutes, and she manages to tackle her into touch. And I just thought, wow, that was like, how many people catch Jess Breach in that corner? Like, usually she scores those tries for fun. So there was glimmers of hope as well in the first half. But to be honest, the overriding theme was like just unforced errors that killed any momentum we had.
Yeah, Elms Kinnan to me definitely stood out as somebody who, she doesn't have a huge amount of experience at this level, but she didn't look like she shouldn't be there at all like that. She played with a huge amount of heart. For that tackle on Ellie Kildun, she came from way back. She passed out. I don't know who it was. It might have been Flood. Passed her out. Just got enough on her to knock it on. And, that just shows a lot of heart. And, you mentioned to me when we were talking about it, it was that kind of Erin King attitude of chasing lost causes. That looked like, it's Eddie Kildun. It looks like the ultimate lost cause. It wasn't lost. Big moment of the game, Chloe.
Yeah, definitely. Now look, if we're to be really cynical about it, what is Ellie Kildun do? Scored a try, you know what I mean? But look, like, again, we'll take our wins where we can take our wins, right? It's Ellie Kildun. She did it in the second half and she still put it down one hand. And I said, is she? Well, but like, look, I thought it was excellent from her. I thought her attack was only all right, Kinlan, but I thought in defence she really stood up. I thought a lot of players stood up in defence, to be honest. But that was, like Erin King said, we're going to chase lost causes. We're going to do that. And those will be game winners in other games, right? You know, that will be the difference in close, tight games. So fair play to her, like I thought, because at the start I thought, like when Lee was ruled out with the maternity and things, I thought it'd be Bevan and Anna McGann. I actually didn't think Kinlan would, get a look in. Like, she's a World Cup squad. Played with Leinster in the Interpros, has played a little bit with Wicklow, played Wolfhounds obviously, but I can see now maybe why, and it's great to have those kind of, McGann coming on for Bevan and, having those three wingers really challenging and keeping that high standard that's going to push us to hopefully a better level with them.
Cian, you were talking about the French breakdown earlier and, potential weakness. Looking at the Irish efforts against the best in the world, how do you think we'll hold up in round 3 against France?
Well, I mean, like, it's a funny one. I mean, Ireland actually did pretty well in the breakdown against England there. It was 10 turnovers to 7 for England, which is more than France managed against Italy, who only won 6. So, Ireland can compete at the ruck. The concern is what happens on the phases where we don't. France are recycling 60, two-thirds of their ball under 3 seconds against Italy.
Yeah,
So, and our own rucks were slow against England.
very.
Early Lane was working off poor platform for most of the day. So if France have a high recycle pace in Clermont, like it's going to be a lot of focus on us trying to slow that ball down as much as we can. Um, but if their ruck work, if they do manage to get set before we've moved in, the attack is already it's gone. Like, and we've people
Mm.
there at the ruck, and the ball's already halfway across the pitch. Italy managed 9 turnovers against France, and France still put 40 on them. Admittedly, pretty much all in the second half. Like winning individual rucks is not going to be enough if France are getting quick, clean ball on the face they do keep. We really do need to concentrate on disrupting that ruck speed, not just trying to compete to steal the ball for turnovers, but just to slow it down across
Yeah.
every single ruck without flooding it with too many players. Because you pull in too many players into the ruck, you get them space out wide, they will absolutely tear you apart.
Yeah, I felt like there was some of our big kind of game changers that were probably a little bit off the boil. Particularly at turnover time, Chloe, Wafer is usually a great one for a turnover and a great one for a big carry. She didn't really show up in that area of the game. 15 tackles, so defensively she showed up, but her attacking game wasn't what we'd usually expect from her.
Yeah, she had a very quiet day at the office, definitely, and surprisingly so, considering, she's had a really good run of games under her belt, like injury free, like probably first time in a long time. Um, and look, yeah, a quiet game. But look, I suppose she was player of the year last year. Maybe she has to be given, one quiet game, and hopefully next week she shows up. But look, the other side of it is I suppose that's the joys of being in a team, right? Everyone isn't going to be 100% all the time. Everyone's not going to have their game of their life. Thankfully, the other two players in the back row played quite well. Like Erin King came up with a couple of big turnovers. Like Brittany was off the chart. Like I've said it all the time. I think she's the most underrated player in our team. Tackles, carries, meters made. I thought she was excellent. And even like watching the game, you can hear her all the time. Like even in minute 75, like you could hear her calling people around. That's what Brittany is. She's an excellent communicator, and she just is a workhorse. So I suppose like that, I'm sure there's games Wafer has made those turnovers, those breaks, and the girls have been quiet. We'll forgive her one game, but I was actually glad to see he took her off in a sense of, because we've often seen Brittany come off there, or maybe one of the rows come off, but I was actually glad he took her off because she wasn't having the best game. She was very quiet. Like Barrett, obviously she made the tackles, but like she had 3 carries. Like that's
just unheard of for her.
And for a number 8, that's very quiet stats. And there was one moment where I looked where England had kicked the ball and Dana caught it, and she put up and under, and Wafer was beside her. And I was thinking, like, this is her chance now. You have a 20-meter run. Give it to her. And I get they have a game plan. And I was looking and I was saying, why is it Dana giving it to her? But I was looking at Wafer. She didn't look like she wanted it. Like, if that was me, like, I'd be saying, give me that. Like, I am getting this, like, a 20-meter run. I don't care who we're playing. You know what I mean? Let's have a big collision, like. And she just, I don't know, like, I've seen her in, like, all photos throughout the week. She's in a knee brace. Like, was she fully fit? I don't know. Like, she's on the training pitch. You see the photos on the training pitch. And then every photo that went up on Instagram, she's in a knee brace. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, so maybe it had to do with that, but then at that stage, you're like, why did you play her when you have enough capable players there? Ruth was on the bench, Grace Moore was on the bench. So I don't know. But look, hopefully, like, she gets through this week and can kind of turn it around. But like that, Brittany had a great game. Erin King had a great game. Doro, like, for what she played, like, she'd 15 tackles and she was only on for 52 minutes. Really high work rate out of her as well. So like that's what being a team is about. When, you're not at your 100, the rest of the team carries you. So that was good to see as well, that the other players stood up too.
Yeah, Hogan was definitely at 120. Like, she's just like that complete and utter workhorse. The line out, Chloe, creaked a bit. I think it was 78% compared to England's 93%. I think maybe that's kind of a continuous weakness of ours, but I felt it improved a little bit when Ruth Campbell came on. What would you think?
Yeah, like we varied our jumpers as well. Like if you actually look at England, like they used Ives Campion for most of theirs and we didn't challenge enough, which was a bit disappointing too. Like, and I get it, like the English maul was such a threat, but I thought there was times
Mm.
it was outside 22, we should have challenged a bit more, especially with Aaron King, like throw her up at two, especially with the law, like that if the ball's crooked and you don't put someone in the air, because there was one or two that definitely weren't down the middle.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just a few overthrows, and then the one that at the very tail that I think it was just the length of time it took to do this dummy, and then England just launched someone up. Like, and I get it, like,
Mm.
they didn't want to throw to two a lot because it's hard, it's a harder platform to maul off. But go
Yeah.
to two and transfer to four then, if that's the case. Like we didn't have any creativity. It's just an area that's going to have to improve. And it's not that there's a lack of jumpers in there between, Fiona, Aaron, Brittany, Darrow. Like they're all
Mm.
capable jumpers, capable lifters. They just need to get it together. Like I think it looked like Fiona Chute was calling the line outs. Maybe got better when Brittany came on, but then did the English pack just kind of reduce a little bit of standard?
Mm.
Like, but yeah, I think definitely needs to improve. Like a high team can't be operating at 78%. Is just not good enough. Like,
Yeah, not at that level.
no.
Um, Key and Chloe mentioned earlier about the number of handling errors and missed tackles. You've had a look at the stats on that.
Yeah, I have. It's been great fun. Ireland, yeah, 21 missed tackles, the highest of the entire opening weekend. Well done, us. Four
Mm.
more than England 17. Started from the very start. Eve Higgins knocked on from a kickoff and handed England immediate attacking position. Before 10 minutes were gone. Damien Cocaine was crossing with the rolling wall. We were chasing the game before we kind of settled into it even. Um, Missed tackles kind of became self-fulfilling then, scrambling in defense, you're dropping ball in attack, and scoreboard pressure compounds everything then. So, we did look a bit panicked at times almost in that half. England's back three, Jesus, like they exposed us. We knew they were going to, and they did. Ellie Kildon. You're not allowed to just say Kildon. It has to be Ellie Kildon. You have to give her full title.
Show pony.
153 meters. Claudia Maloney McDonald covered 79 for her own. Jess Breach scored from what was the Meg Jones charge down of an Irish kick. So kicking game was generating tries at the wrong end for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, flooded fullback had a difficult day. Beaten twice on the outside, and I think it was her kick blocked that set up Breach's score. On the positive side, we were definitely making the effort. Brittany Hogan was outstanding. 18 tackles, 12 carries, 54 meters. And Aaron King led with performance as well, like
Mm.
17 tackles, 2 turnovers, and 4 lineouts, and a score. Um, Linda Dewar made 15 tackles, 1-0 at the breakdown, unfortunately.
Mm.
Um, Aoife Wafer, 15 tackles as well, 0 turnovers, and 3 carries, as you said. It's not really good enough. Working hard in defence, but really
Mm.
not doing anything from that work. And actually, just on the English line out, Eve's Campion took 10 of the line outs. Matthews took 2 and Abby Burton took 1. But if you're not getting
So
pressure put in your
telegraphed.
line out, why would you throw it to anyone else?
True.
Like, if they're not getting anywhere near you, like, why would you change it?
Mm.
It's just
Mm.
funny because last year, like we had this one person lift with Aaron King, and then we challenged the pods. Remember, like that game in
Yeah.
Musgrave Park, like that's how we disrupted a lot of them. In that first half down there. I'm like, why have we gone away from that? That works
Yeah.
so well with
Yeah.
Noddy throwing Aaron up and then tracking the other pod. Like obviously, I think Sam was playing that day and Emer Curry, but surely the other pod with Darrow and Fiona and Britt or whoever is in it can challenge there. Like I just found it so surprising. Now I get the 5 meter line because if you challenge against it, it's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Even if you don't challenge, it's kind of inevitable. Like, but a couple of times we did stop that maul with quite good defence. But around the park, like to not get a person in the air, I just think, what is the
Yeah.
point? Like,
Yeah. Chloe, one thing that really stood out to me was our halfbacks. I just felt they were off the boil altogether. Um, 17 kicks from Dana. It's just a bit predictable at this point. Um, and you mentioned earlier indecision. It felt to me like between the halfbacks and possibly out to 12 as well, there was just indecision, a little bit of panic in attack, and like England just punish any indecision. You can't have a sniff of it against them. You have to have option A, option B, option C, and run with it. Make that decision quickly.
Yeah, and look, there's a reason Ellie Kildon was the top carrier for England was because we kept kicking the ball to her.
Yeah.
Let's kick the ball to the best player in the world and see
Who
what
loves
happens.
space.
Yeah,
Loves
like
all the space in the
honest
world.
to
Like.
God. Like, and some of them, like, look, I get some of them, like, so, like some of them are outside the 22. That's the game plan, whatever. But the ones in the 22, like that had to hit touch, they were the killers for me. Like one of them led to the try in the corner. But like, you've got to get the ball off the pitch, and then I just think some of it, like, and look, it isn't all the halfbacks' fault. Like, if the ruck's not good enough, it's a nightmare for the 9. Like, I get that, but I just think, Emily Lane doesn't have enough zip in her pass, so the ball is in the air too long. Like, which is which again is a knock-on effect of the next ruck being poor, because by the time you get the ball, like, there was times where I was like, are they offside? And then I was like, they're actually not. The ball is just in the air so long. If you're playing with that kind of 9, you have to adapt as like a forward pod, because you're going to get smacked. Like, especially if you're playing back football, you've got to really tighten up your pod. You got to get it in closer and then just punch through that contact. And in fairness, like, I actually thought at times we did that really well, where we had a big ball carrier. Like, I thought Doro and Kleena did it quite well a lot of the time in Brit, where they tackled the tacklers, and then we played front foot, and then we just kicked it away. It's like and then we were just back into this cycle. Again, I don't entirely like point the finger at Dana, because this is obviously the game plan, right?
Yeah.
She's not deciding herself.
She's doing what she's told.
She's doing what she's told, right? But the other side of it is, you're doing what you're told. Like, they kicked a lot of the time and there were 4 England players. I'm like, at some point you have to be a rugby player who scans. If they have 4 players and the 9 is here, they're probably playing 10 flat. The other winger's probably on a half, so it's probably 9. Can we not just look up and play what's in front of us and stop kicking the ball away? And especially, like, a lot of the kicks, I'd say nearly most of the kicks went to hand. Like, Ellie Kildon knocked on 1. Fantastic. Thank the baby Jesus. She makes a mistake. She's human, right? But a lot of the time, like, they'd 4 back, running back on top of you. Like, and I'm like, surely you can scan and see there's, gaps somewhere. There has to be. If they've dropped 4 in the backfield, there has to be gaps. Why are we not exploiting it? Why are we not opening our eyes and using our rugby player brains? Very disappointed in that sense, to be honest. And look, we said this last year. We said it in the World Cup. We'll probably say it again next week.
Probably.
And that's why, like, I'll look ahead to Italy in a few minutes, but that's why I'd love to see, the changes being rung. Katie Whelan, when she came on, I felt like she had a really positive impact. The ruck speed was a little bit better. Like you said, that singing ball was so much better. I'd love to see Katrina Finn coming in. She's a good scanner. She's well able to take the ball up to the line. She likes the physical element of the game, which Dana O'Brien just doesn't warm to at all. Stacey Flood, full back, she just seemed slow to me. That that kick that was blocked down, and then she's chasing back. And Jesus, I think Breach was twice the speed of her. Elms Kinlan was twice the speed of her. She just lacked that. I'd almost love to see Stacey go in at 12 as an option, and somebody else with a good boot, somebody else with a good crisp pass, and get Gallagher in at 15. Just before we look ahead to more of that and what changes we'd like to see, I'd just like to point to one of the positives, that we're very much closing the gap. While we're picking apart the Irish game, and while we're saying, oh, we could do this better, we could do that better, we did this well, but we could work on that. In 2024, we were beaten by a gap of 78 points. 2025, that was 44. This year, it's 21. That is a consistent improvement and a sign of the evolution of the game. And I think another element, Cian, was we were an 80-minute team, which I don't think we have been against England in probably 5-6 years. We were very much an 80-minute team. We didn't drop off at the 60th minute where England run in 8 tries. We drew in the second half.
That's it. I mean, it's a trajectory that's kind of hard to argue against, really, And again, the number that really jumped out at me was we drew the second half. I mean, it does feel like a little bit of a kind of Irish football fan sometimes to be like, the Pyrrhic victory of the heroic draw. But you have to take it where you can get it. And we have to bear in mind that progress is going to be non-linear. We can't be guaranteed that's going to be halved again next year, but like year-on-year improvements is all you can build towards. And if you can carve that out against the best by a long stretch team in the world, then you go and you get that, and you absolutely take note and celebrate the fact that you're doing it, and look at what you're doing right, and look at where it's not working as well, and keep going at that. Keep making what's going well better, and improve on the bits, fix the bits that aren't working right. And that crowd, 77,000.
Insane.
Absolutely nuts.
Absolutely insane. And then such a good sign for women's rugby. And like we pick apart things because we're analytical, but to see that small a gap and to be able to pick on so many different things that in other games we do better, and players that are off the boil, that if they're on their best game, we're putting it to England. So I think it's a sign of back in 2023 we're at rock bottom. 3 years later to be where we're at is just a phenomenal positive. And Chloe, going into that Italy game, what are the changes you'd make? I'd change half the back line personally, but what would you change?
Well, if I'm to be biased, I'd obviously play Eilish Cahill anywhere on the pitch. Because
scrum penalty, our first ever
let's just rewind before we look forward. Let's rewind, right? And I'm just going to put my Munster UL Bows hat on because I can, right?
Work away.
Because I want to. And in fairness to Katie Whelan, I thought she did well when she came on 2 new caps, right? That's a great positive as well. But Eilish Cahill comes on, lads, we were like, the place erupted. Like, I was, unbelievable. Like, just great to see her come on. Scrum penalty, the babyface assassin claps in Mackenzie Carson's face. I love it. And, then there's, in fairness, like the maul, like she's in the maul and you could see her, she's driving on and she's fighting for everything. A carry, she gets the carry that causes the ruck penalty, and you can hear Aaron in the ref mic saying, get Eilish on the ball. So I'm like, that is unbelievable because they have confidence in her, which for me is exceptional for a brand new player in camp 2 weeks. Big carry, and then Aaron King, Grace Moore carry, Aaron King scores. If you ask me, it was all Eilish.
Obviously.
100%.
Without a doubt.
Obviously.
But no, look, delighted to see her. And as I said, I thought Katie Whelan did quite well as well when she came on, didn't look out of place. So, good to see 2 new caps, especially building that depth. To look towards the Italy game, I don't think he'll start Eilish. I hope she gets a bit more game time, maybe, got 12 minutes. Like, would love to see her get 25. And I think, she was able to battle with the top tier in the world. So I hope now that instills confidence that he can give her more game time against Italy.
Well, one thing we struggle with is those last 5 meters. She does not struggle with the last 5 meters.
No.
She is that solution to that problem.
Like, honest to God, she's 6 foot, and how low she gets and gets the studs in the ground, she's an exceptional technique for that. And one part of her game we didn't really see in that, like she only made 1 tackle. She only had to make 1, but she made it, is actually her technical defensive work is exceptional. And unbelievable. So hopefully she's defending against Italy, but hopefully, that is another string to her bow that she's really good at as a tight head prop for someone who is quite tall, So if she does get more games, I'm sure people will get to see that as well. And yeah, I'm looking for an Eilish Cahill try in this Six Nations. Any bookies who want to take my bet, I'll pay you. So I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm glad I didn't Saturday now she didn't score, but this weekend I think she will. If she gets picked.
I think, having seen her playing for Bows, she scored the winning try in the final last year. And like that, 5 meters, give it to her, she's scoring it.
Yeah.
But what I love most about Eilish Cahill, having met her a few times, is she seems like butter wouldn't melt. Really innocent. The interviews afterwards, really honest and really innocent. But Jesus, she's as quick-witted and she would absolutely cut you. I remember being in the pub in Exeter. Some lad comes up to her. She's wearing the All Blacks jersey, and some lad comes up to her and starts giving her a bit of kind of cheeky hassle for what are you doing? You're Irish and you're wearing that. And she goes, my dad's from New Zealand.
Yeah, she's well able.
And he's just like, oh, Jesus, I'm sorry. And she's just like, you'd swear that he had offended, her Kiwi ancestors. And he kind of walks off sheepishly. Yeah. And she just looks at me and goes, no, he's not. Yeah. And she's as sharp. She is as sharp. She's brilliant. Yeah, she's brilliant.
She is.
Right. We're so beyond Eilish Cahill scoring her try. What are your predictions, Chloe, for the weekend against Italy?
Um, my predictions are we'll win with a bonus point. I think we'll win well. I think we'll show up in the Dexcom. I'd like to see those couple of changes. Like I think I'd give Niamh Gallagher a go. He's not a fan of making a lot of changes, so
No,
I
it's
say
not.
this. I say this in hope more than in I anticipate that'll happen. I think, yeah, like, she wasn't even the travelling reserve. Katrina was travelling reserve, Bet was travelling reserve. So kind of hard to know. Like, but look, I suppose if he maybe gave Katrina a shot this week, he might give her a shot a different Wales week or something like that. So,
Maybe.
maybe. And again, look, you can't change too much either, right? I think Noddy will come in. I'd like to see him give Kleena another go. I thought she played really well, like in big occasion, big team. Kleena's always been gritty, always a bit of bite. Like, Niamh, we know what Niamh brings. Like, she's really strong in the tackle. Like, set piece is good, but I think Kleena is something we kind of need, if I'm honest. And I thought she did really well. Like, she was just at one stage, she was just tackling anyone who did or didn't have the ball. And I was all
Optional.
first. Yeah, optional. I was all first. So I think Noddy will start. They'll bring back in Niamh O'Dowd. El Perry had her chance, had those tackles, but wasn't really impactful. Gave away a couple of penalties at the scrum time. So I think Noddy will come back in. And then, if Sam is up for selection, that's probably the big one. Sam and Aveen Riley weren't up for selection due to injury.
Yeah.
Apparently she's back in for next week, so that'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, what do you do? Like, who do you take out? Like, I don't really know. Unless
I'd love to see Sam off the bench in the last 30 minutes because that Italy defence they get tired. There are those dog legs and Sammy Bill with her offloads.
That's it. Like, she'll get her head through contact, get the ball out. But then if Wafer's carrying some kind of injury, do you not, like, for me, if she's carrying it, because I do think she was carrying an injury. She's in a brace all week. She's really not impactful. I would actually leave her out for Italy. Bring Sam, if it's possible, bring Sam back in and then get Wafer
Darrow
back.
in the back row.
I'd say they'll go Fiona Chute at 6 if that's the case. That's what kind of happened in the World Cup more so. And then get Wafer back for France fit. If that's, assuming that's kind of what's going on. But I think Sam will come back into the squad definitely. But then again, Fiona Chute off the bench has been good too at times, so maybe that'll be it. I think backline will stay the same. Again, Aveen Riley, I don't know what the status is on her coming back.
But like, back.
If she comes back, like again, like we're talking about people coming back from injury, so maybe off the bench is the better option, right? And then start them for France. But I think she'll slot straight back into 9. Emily's doing okay. She's okay defensively, but I just think Aveen's pass is a little bit better and a bit crisper for what we need. I'd give the rest of the back line a same shot, to be honest, and I would put Niamh Gallagher at 15 with Stacey off the bench because I think we need to build depths there, but I also think we need someone to run that ball back when they kick it, and I just don't think we have an active threat at the moment doing that.
Yeah, and I think Niamh Gallagher would absolutely, given what she's done in Trailfinders, she would offer that threat and a good bit of speed where I think Flood lacked at the weekend.
Yeah.
Cian, your predictions for Italy?
I'm going to go for Ireland to win by 2 scores. We saw Italy, they're going to bring their breakdown game. 14 against France, and if we bring our missed tackle game as well, that could be trouble for us. But look, they completely fell apart when France upped the tempo and started playing a bit of ball. If we can get half of what France got going in front of a full Dexcom, it's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy.
Yeah.
I think we're going to make them very uncomfortable in the last quarter of that game.
Lovely. Well, I'm going to go Ireland by 20. Just going off vibes alone. This is why I don't bet. I'm wasting money entirely.
You can call it guessing if you want. That's what I do sometimes. I'm just guessing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it'd be like blindly throwing a dart at the dartboard and hoping I hit it. I've no idea. Right, so round 1 is done with no major surprises, but a hell of a thriller with Wales-Scotland. Round 2 brings the side to Galway for the first time ever in Dexcom. Very few tickets left. Clan Stand is sold out, so get your tickets while you can. Meanwhile, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram or on Blue Sky. So until next week, keep on rocking.